Hey everybody, it's Rajesh here.
Intane here.
Welcome to our podcast, Baskets of Knowledge, Chats with a Difference. In our podcast, we invite guests from around the country and around the world to talk about how they got to where they're at the moment. It's about a journey, it's about an experience, it's about their life. Kia ora koutou, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Baskets of Knowledge. Before I even start, just a bit of a disclaimer. I do have a bit of a cough, so if I keep coughing, I apologize. I'll try and do the mute when I do cough. For new listeners, thank you for jumping on. For regular listeners, thank you for coming back on. As always, at the start, we reflect about anything we've put into our basket of knowledge. And the one thing that I've done since our last recording of a podcast is thinking about a quote that I saw on LinkedIn. And it's so simple, but it's so profound. And the quote was, "Easy to do, easy not to do." And when I read about that thinks about anything that we have in life, we have two choices. You can either do it or you don't have to do it there. And there's no right or wrong. It just depends on, and the outcome is going to be different. So as I sat there and thought about, what do we do in life that we have a choice, and those hard things are easy not to do. Okay, and those easy things are easy to do. So, for example, if you want to get fit or healthy, it's hard to go to the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning. So easy not to do, and it's easy to stay in bed. So easy to do. And sometimes the things that are easy to do are the things that are not going to help you move forward. And the things that are easy not to do are the things that are going to get you growing. So as I think about that, I'd love you as listeners to think about that and also think about how you can apply that into your world. And I think that's going to be something we're going to have a chat with our guests today as well, because what they're doing is also easy not to do. And I'm just spitballing here. I'm sure we'll come across that there, but this is my learning from the week. But as always, we're not here to listen to my voice. We're here to listen to our guests, and it is my privilege and honor to welcome our guest on today. I don't know this guest very well, but what I do know is they post some really interesting content on LinkedIn, not just about what they do, but also every Tuesday, a bit of a reflection, a bit like me, about what I've done, about things that they've learned as well, and things to reflect on. And this is why I thought they'd be a fantastic person to jump on. But also, like everybody's got a story, and our guest, I'm sure, has a pretty awesome story to share with us. So without further ado, kia ora, and thank you for joining us, and welcome to our podcast, Lewis.
Kia ora. Thank you very much for having me on. It's great to be here.
No worries. Thank you, Lewis. Lewis, for anyone who doesn't know who you are, do you want to tell us about who you are and where you are at this point in time in your life?
Of course. So, my name's Lewis. I recently graduated the University of Otago with a degree in HR and marketing. And whilst I was there for the last 2 years, I think it is now, I've been building my own early careers recruitment platform. So I created the Student Hand 2 years ago, and since then I've been remodeling it to help students gain graduate and internship opportunities while also helping businesses kind of streamline their recruitment process.
Beautiful, and I'm sure we'll get into that as we have our chat today. So, Stuart, I call it Stuart there. My brain's elsewhere. Lewis, if I said to you when you were in year 13 that, hey, in 3 or 4 years' time, you'd be running your own business and you'd be finished up with this degree, what would you have said to me at that point in time?
Probably that you're dreaming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it wasn't necessarily something I would have ever said, oh, I'd never do that, but it would have, at that time in my life, was probably seemed very, very far in the future. But time's kind of crept up on me, and throughout the stuff I've learned at university and the experiences I've had, it's kind of molded me into someone who is rather entrepreneurial as such. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. And I love that there, because that was my next avenue, entrepreneurship. Is that something that is in your family, or is it something that as you navigated this whole world of university, that you picked up and actually, wait a minute, I don't have to think about things in a lateral way like school. I can actually branch out.
Well, my dad is a photographer, and he started his own photography business 25, 30 years ago now. So he's run that for the last 30 years. So I guess that was always there for me, and I always knew it was kind of a possibility to reach out and do something you love, if you have a passion for it. So that probably fueled my fire a bit, to say. But yeah, I've never necessarily been much of an academic myself. I always liked the more practical side of things, and I'm starting to learn now that theory actually is very, very helpful in practical situations, but also that there's a lot to learn outside of the world of academics. and I really enjoy that too.
No, beautiful. I love that there because maybe inherently because your dad is an entrepreneur, essentially by being a photographer, that might be in the background. And it's really quite funny. The more people I speak to, the more I realize that somewhere in your family there's something that happens that defines you, but you don't realize it until later on. So it's pretty cool that you mentioned that this on this chat here. So let's talk about student hand. How did that develop? As you said, you went to university to study a degree, and like most people, you go to university with a degree plan in mind. Where did things shift for you to go, actually, wait a minute, I can actually do my own thing?
Yeah, so it's actually a bit of a funny story. So I was at the very start of my second year at university, and it was in the first term holidays, and I was down in Milton, which is kind of Southland, Otago, down south, and me and my mate were chopping wood for about 10 to 12 hours a day. And we were doing that, and we are earning about $40, almost $50 an hour if we worked hard enough. And I thought, maybe there's something in this where we can get other people to do jobs like this and we can connect them and kind of create a business model out of that. So that's where I initially started, and I created the student hand as a labor hire service for Otago University students, mainly second years who had just started flatting or had just gone out of halls into flatting and needed a bit of extra money to pay rent and power and whatnot. So that's where I started. And I quickly realized that wasn't where I wanted to go with it. And I think I was only earning about $2 or $3 an hour off each person who was working, and they were probably only getting around 20 hours of work a week. So I was doing all this work and only getting $40 profit in return, and I was having to put that into ads and stuff anyway. So I kind of realized that's not where I wanted to go and put that on pause for a bit and stepped away. And I got myself an internship at a cherry company up in Central Otago, and I was their HR administrator. So I was, onboarding people for cherry picking and whatnot. But a lot of my friends didn't get internships, and they really didn't know where to go to get an internship or where to go to find internships. So that's when my idea kind of started with the student hand. And I quickly realized that it was rather similar for graduates. There's not necessarily a platform that directly goes to students. I mean, there's some great job boards out there and people who are doing really cool things, but I thought there's definitely potential to put a kind of an innovative twist on this. So I decided to model the student hand, and throughout probably, I think it was around 18 months of remodeling, finally here on my 33rd different business model, which was great. But a lot of that came also from working for KPMG over last summer as an intern in their early careers recruitment team. So I got to go to some cool conferences and events, which really kind of opened my eyes to there might actually be a need here for both parties, students and employers. Yeah.
Beautiful. There's so much to unpack there. I think the first thing to unpack there is the fact that, as you said, this is not an overnight thing. You said 33 iterations to get to where you are. But it goes back to what I said at the start, easy to do, easy not to do. After your first venture, you could have been like, nah, I'm done. This is way too hard. I'm only getting $3 per person. What is the drive for you to carry this on? Because we all have ideas, we all whatever those ideas are, and some of us keep them going, and some of us just say, nah. Where do you think, what is your, I guess I'm gonna use the word spark because that's you need a bit of spark to get you going, to get you ignited.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a few things that kind of build towards that spark. Initially, it was helping students and helping others, and trying to create an easier route for students because it can be quite a stressful time looking for internships and jobs. And you do freak out as a student a bit when you can't find a job and you've paid all this money for a degree. So that definitely helped it. But I've also always wanted to kind of do my own thing. I kind of had this idea that I never wanted to work for someone as such, which is probably a terrible idea because I'm sure I will one day. But I wanted to create my own work and have a bit of freedom there and a bit of creativity, and really reach out to meet new people, learn new things. And I kind of thought, well, the best way to do that is through starting a business. So that's probably two of the things that really kind of fueled my fire as such to get where I am now.
Yeah, and I think those are interrelated because you're still young, and the fact that you've done the student's journey and gone, hey, this is you've seen your peers struggle, and you probably struggle as well to get that first step in, because when you apply for jobs, they're like, what experience do you have? And no experience, but hey, it's that chicken and egg thing there. So, and also the fact that you wanted to be your own boss, it's really quite funny because I always in the work that I do, I was like, hey guys, why do you want to work for somebody? Ironically, I work for somebody. But I was like, hey, why you should try to be your own boss. And like you, I have a business on the side that I'm also trying to grow. But because of those things that allow you to just do things that are just radical and a bit different. And it's high risk, but also high reward if it all works out. So that's really I love that. I love that spark there that you have. But the name, Student Hand, where did that come from? It's a great name.
Um, yeah, originally it was literally because it was a labour hire business and we were offering a hand to residents in Dunedin. So that kind of just it was actually my first name I came up with, and I came up with it within a day, and then I kind of never really left it and didn't think of anything else. And then I started building the brand a bit, and it was a bit too late. Although I am thinking of in the future dropping the. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
watched the Facebook movie with the one about how they invented Facebook, and
Yep.
it used to be called the
The
Facebook,
face.
and
Yep.
they dropped the. So I'm thinking that might be potentially in my future. I'm not sure yet, but yeah,
Yeah, and then it becomes synonymous, right? Oh, student hand. That becomes a verb and a noun as opposed to a thing, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really, really cool. And I guess, as you were doing this, you're also navigating your study. And as you said right at the start, academics was not your jam. How did you find that navigating the study, the social life of being a young person, and also, hey, I've also got this cool idea that I want to take forward.
Yeah, it was interesting because at university, when I took a step back from the labor hire process and was remodeling it, I wasn't doing a lot of work on it. It was often just an hour or two, few times a week, kind of just putting ideas on paper and kind of, emailing a few people. And it probably was a lot more difficult at the start of this year as I had my last 6 months of university. And it was, juggling, making sure I was going to classes or at least watching watching the lecture recordings of them more, and also going to meetings. But I mean, it's not too bad in Dunedin as such because I can, get to class in 5 minutes and then get back home in 5 minutes. So it wasn't too bad in that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, at the moment, it's it's just business, so it's kind of a lot more freeing, not having that voice in the back of your head that's like, oh, you've got to make sure you do this assignment and hand this in here and study for this. But I did struggle a bit. I definitely think my grades went dropped a bit when I was fully focused on the student hand, but I think that was more to do with I had so much passion for this project I was doing that it made my university works kind of go to the back of my head. But yeah, we got through it, so got the degree, and yeah, we're here now.
And that's all that matters, right? And it's so true
Yeah,
because when you are passionate about something, you give your all. And the stuff that is a have to do but not a want to do just changes quite dramatically. So but hey, like I said, you've got the piece of paper. That's all that matters. And as you navigate this, what is one of the biggest challenges that you've faced as you start creating your business and your name, especially because you're a young person. And I'm also gonna um contract that with because I know Dunedin has a lot of entrepreneurial people that are at university that do some pretty cool things. But there are challenges, and what do you reckon is one of the things that you go, actually, this is I'm really proud to get over it. We're still getting over it.
um, probably building my connections because obviously at the start of my business, I knew literally no one. I knew maybe one or two people. I had a few connections at KPMG, and that was about it. And that was really tough, and it still is really tough. I haven't got years of industry experience where I can have then started a business and have all these colleagues or former colleagues that I've worked with, and that I can go to and say, "Hey, I've done this," and they go, "Oh, yeah, I've worked with him or worked for him, and he's actually really good at this." I've got to prove my value in a message or in a couple of messages. So I've actually heavily relied on LinkedIn for that. In terms of kind of building my own image. But yeah, it's definitely difficult to gain validity or credibility when you have no or very limited experience. But I am quickly gaining that experience, I think. So yeah, it definitely helps with the learnings along the way.
And that's so true. I talk to people about it's all about who you know and not what you know. And in any industry, it's all about those networks because they open the doors for you. And even if it's just a coffee, if it's just, hey, this is another person, that's the hardest bit there. But it also takes, you've also got to put yourself into a uncomfortable zone to talk to randoms that you got to send them an email or drop them a message and be like, hey, you don't know who I am, but hey, I want to have a chat to you, which is pretty scary sometimes.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah, especially if they go, nah, you're like, oh, damn it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely have got used to rejection rather quickly through cold emails and cold calling, getting used to people saying no. And someone told me the other week, they're like, they're not saying no to you as a person, or they might be, but they're saying no to an idea and a value that may not necessarily be attractive to them, and they might not know, and it might actually be valuable to them. But lots of people with the first glimpse, if you can't capture their attention, they don't want to hear about it.
And it's so hard. I mean, I always think about the Colonel Sanders story, right? Everyone said no to him. He just need one person to say yes, and his whole thing just changed. And that could be, you have no idea who that one person is going to be. So it's hard, but hey, at the end of the day, it's going to be worth it at some point.
Yeah, exactly. It only takes the right person at the right time, and then you're
Totally.
away.
And that's right. Do you want to explain how the student hand actually works? So, what is that? What is the concept? And for our listeners out there, if they wanted to get involved or they wanted to touch base with you, let's go through it.
Yeah. So, first of all, it starts with the students. So obviously, without students, there's no platform. So, I do a lot of networking with students and organizations, just trying to advertise to them and show them what I do. And students will sign up to the student hand via my website. Through a sign up form, and they'll upload their CV, a transcript, and all additional employment information, such as their major, their minor, preferred location of work, things like that. And from there, they'll be put on my database, which I access through the back end of my website. And then I network with businesses and advertise to businesses and say, hey, if you're looking for a graduate or an intern, within 48 hours, I can provide you with a talent pool based off your request, a position description, GPA, or any criteria we talk about. I'll go to my database, I'll select a talent pool, and then I'll just connect them with the business. So I'm more of a connector than a recruiter, but I do minimal screening with the students. So I give all of them a call, talk about what they're necessarily looking for in terms of culture and environment within their workplace, and also their kind of future ambitions to see that we're getting them connected with the right people.
Beautiful. And at the moment, is it just university students, or are you also have high school students, or is it just a university thing at the moment?
Just university at the moment. So at the
Yep,
moment, I have a database of just over 300 students across New Zealand. So we've got all the major
great.
universities, students from all of them. Yeah.
Oh, beauty. And who I guess is your major competitor? I don't know if Student Job Search still is around, or is that someone that I know they were big before, but I'm not sure. I don't see anything about them anymore as much.
Yeah, yeah. So the student job search, I'm not sure if they're necessarily as involved in the graduate or
Yep,
intern space as such, but they're definitely a competitor. But there's also some really cool companies like Summer of Tech, which is
yep.
mainly North Island focused, but they do internships and graduate roles for in the tech industry. So people like them, Grade Connection, there's a few of them, but I tried to, with the student hand, place myself in the market with a different kind of product. So the
Yep.
service that we offer isn't, or that I offer isn't necessarily the same as anyone else, but the same kind of ethos is there where we're connecting students with employers. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what does help is that when you, like you said, you call your students, you have a chat to them, and some of them could be your peers as well. And word of mouth is probably the best way to navigate this crazy place.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of the benefits I have at the moment as well, is because it's such a small operation. I am able to call a student and have a good conversation with them, and it's a lot easier, I think, for the students as well to talk to someone who is their peer and isn't some scary recruiter or adult who they're having to deal with where they're a bit nervous. So I think yeah, it's beneficial for the students as well.
Oh, beauty. And I guess, Lewis, as you've done this year, what growth have you seen for yourself as a young person? Because obviously, as you said at the start, there's so many learnings that you've had. What personal growth have you had over this time here?
Yeah, honestly, it's probably the most I've grown as a person in my entire life. In the last probably 6 to 8 months has been huge. I think a lot of it has been kind of dealing with adults. I think when you're speaking with your peers or your friends and your mates at a young age, until you're probably my age, you don't necessarily deal with professionals or people in the business world. So I probably was a lot less direct than I am now. I understand that to not beat around the bush and not to start an email with, "Hey, I know you're busy, but it's ironic, and you're just wasting some more of someone's time." So I think being direct and being able to portray my value as quickly as possible, but also in a way that makes someone actually read what I'm sending out. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so true because most of the time, we have that thing, you're busy or I hope you're well, those crazy filler sentences which add no value to any email, especially a cold call email.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Um,
Yeah, no, beautiful. So I guess in your email tactics must be just straight up.
Yeah, well, I have an interesting tactic at the moment because obviously I don't have a lot of funding behind me. I mean, it's
Yes.
just myself. So I don't have the plans on or the platforms that you can gain access to thousands of emails or phone numbers at once. So a lot of my networking is literally just adding people on LinkedIn, brief sentence about myself and what I do, and then can I have your email, please? I think
Yep.
it's a tactic that works because people kind of are able to look at my LinkedIn and see that I'm a young Kiwi trying to start a business, which a lot of people tend to respect. And then I've only asked for the email as well. So it's not like I'm asking to meet with them yet. And then in the
Yep.
email, I then ask a bit more and tell them a bit more. And then I think it kind of leads to them reading the email as well because they've supplied the email. So they probably feel a sense of responsibility to maybe have a look at the email.
That's very, very clever tactic. Talking about another clever tactic, talk me through 2 Minute Tuesday. What is the inspiration behind that there?
Yeah, it was just something that I came up with whilst I was scrolling through LinkedIn. I obviously spend a lot of my time on LinkedIn looking for connections. And I follow a lot of cool accounts, the Stephen Bartlett's of the world
Yeah.
who post some really cool and inspirational stuff. And I also follow this one Kiwi who I think he's my age,
Hamish McKay. Yeah.
Hamish McKay, yeah, I follow
Yeah.
him, and I was looking at his business model and his the Shopify app he's created, and a lot of the stuff he's done on LinkedIn, and he really created a good following, obviously through that. And I kind of thought I need to be posting on LinkedIn as much as I can without spamming people and getting no reaction. So I thought a little segment every Tuesday about a certain topic or about something I've learned within the business world will be something that people might want to interact with. Some of the posts haven't done so well, and some of them have done really well. And I've got some cool thoughts from people and comments and questions, which has ultimately led to my growth as well. So yeah,
Yeah, I really enjoy reading them. Yeah, they pop up my thing, and I was like, hey, this is some cool thing. It's nice, bite-sized, easy. It's not what I do. I put like super long comments. I'm like, hey guys, that stuff. But it's very, very, very clever. But I guess what a good takeaway there is. You're basically trying to replicate people that are successful and trying to follow the model. You're not exactly the same, but going, hey, how do they become successful? It
yeah,
worked for them. It could
exactly.
work for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, the reason I 2 Minute Tuesday is the idea is that it's short and sweet because
Yeah.
I'm not a great writer myself. I'm not an academic. But I'm able to deliver reasonably good information, I think, or reasonably interesting paragraphs within a short amount of space. So it also I think it captivates the younger audience as well because a lot of my peers and stuff won't read anything that's more than 2 or 3 paragraphs. So yeah.
That's so true. A bit of a segue now. Let's talk about Lewis and Lewis's story. So, Lewis, you live in Dunedin at the moment. You went to the University of Otago. Was there a reason why you stayed in Dunedin, or because you could have done your degree at any university in the country? What was the draw card to stay in Dunedin?
Um, I think it was more all of my mates went to Otago, so I always wanted to do marketing. I always had the idea that I'd be, I'm really into football, and my dream job was always being a marketing manager for Nike football in England somewhere, helping run their adverts for their football. Yeah, and I could do marketing at Otago. A lot of my mates were going there as well, so it was more probably a safe fit than anything, but it
Yeah.
also would allow a platform for me to do what I wanted to do in the world. And yeah, I'm pretty grateful I went there. I've met some amazing people and a lot of people, and it was a lot easier to meet people as well when I already had a lot of mates who were in the same boat, and then we were able to reach out to new people once we're at university. So yeah.
That's very cool. And I guess now the flip side is, as you said, you graduated a few months ago, and now your peers are leaving and moving on and doing other things. What is it like for you? Because as you said, you had an internship at KPMG. You could have so very easily gone into the business, into the working world as well, and your peers are doing that there. How do you feel sitting back and going, you watch your peers working for corporates, I guess, and you're like, hey, I'm doing my thing here.
Um, it's kind of the best of both worlds, but it's also tough. I mean, I'm not generating any revenue at the moment, so I see my mates who are taking trips to Bali, and they're going away on holidays, and they're able to just live and have kind of a few luxuries in life. Whether I'm just stuck at home making sure I'm grinding away on the business, which is definitely difficult, but it's also quite cool because I'll get a message from them, and they're like, "Oh, I'm so overworked this week. I can't be bothered. I've been on doing this Excel sheet for the last 5 days," and I'm like, "Oh, I've had meetings with all these big corporations. I've met with people for coffee, and I'm kind of dived into the deep end of the business world, but also getting to experience such a vast array of circumstances that I wouldn't if I had gone into a corporate job."
Yeah, and I think that's really important to realize that there's the best of both worlds, but also the worst of both worlds in whichever way you go. There's no good and there's no bad. And as you now navigate an online platform, um, I'm going to ask you a question based on your last chat with Shaylin. It's quite funny because I know Shaylin as well really well. Um, how do you think the world of AI, and I'm asking you as a young person because AI, everyone's not at the same level, but as a young person watching the world of AI and your business, does that excite you? Does that terrify you? Or how do you implement it in your world to go, actually, this is something that I could leverage really well?
Yeah, it definitely does both. It excites me and terrifies me at the same time. Yeah, I again, I'm not an academic, so I don't fully understand the background of AI. I understand a lot more of the implementation of
Yeah.
AI. And I definitely think in the future, should the student hand do well, there's some really cool AI technology which you can implement into the hiring process, which will save businesses countless hours in recruitment. But I also think there's always needs to be a people lens in recruitment and getting your employee. AI at the moment, at least, it can't judge someone's character on how they're going to react in certain situations, or how they have reacted in past situations. So I think having a good understanding of people will always be crucial, and if you have the right balance of people and then technology, if you implement them both, there's definitely a big opening for success there.
Yeah, and I like how you said it's both exciting and terrifying. I mean, I dabble in it. I mean, like you, I don't understand. I tried once to jump onto a course about AI. It was a free course offered by Open AI, and I was like, what are they talking about? It was just way over my head.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
supposed to be an intro. I was like, this is not an intro. So I'm like you, I'm like, I don't. And here's the crazy thing, though. I'm Lewis. My background is computer science, and I'm still like, what the hell is going on here? Yeah, don't feel bad about that bit. So yeah, but like you said, the tools that are coming out every single day, they are pretty exciting if we know how to use them correctly.
Mm.
And there's so many tools out there, this ChatGPT, Claude, Gronk, a whole lot, and all those other crazy visualizations which do some crazy cool things. Um, Beautiful. And I guess, Lewis, as you navigate this, and if you could future future vision in it's in a year's time, where would you like to be with the student hand?
in a year's time,
Yeah,
in a year's time, I'd like to be the leading early careers recruitment platform in New Zealand. So I want to be that go-to platform for students. I want to have a much more automated process. So kind of cut myself out of the picture a bit and allow students to create a profile, and be able to change that once they've signed up, and then also allow businesses to have their own sign up page, and then they can scroll through the database themselves and pick out the students they want based off what they see on paper. So yeah, that's probably the goal for the end of next year, is to be there. And then I have some much more ambitious goals for the next 5 or so years.
no beauty. And I picked a year on purpose because I think we got the short-term goal, then the long-term goals happen much better if we pick the short-term goals. And I guess we have lots of students that listen to this podcast here. And what advice or what would you say to them if they wanted to get in touch with you to, because I asked, this is quite a timely conversation as well, because as you know with your peers, this is the time of the year when second years are looking for internships over the summer, third years are trying to find, if you especially law, trying to find law clerkships. How would they, by getting in touch with you, what is the benefit for them? Because they're like, oh, this is just a one person band. What is, yeah, I'm just trying to give them the advantage for you using you.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. Yeah, so the I never guarantee that I'm going to find anyone a job. Obviously,
100%.
I can't do that. And at the moment, the way I view it being very beneficial for students is you are always going to be a one man band looking for a job for yourself. You might have your connections, you might not have connections in your industry, but when you come to the student hand and you sign up, you then become part of an entire business. And I am only one person, but the sole purpose of the student hand and me within the student hand is to reach out and connect as many businesses as possible to the students on board. And it's free. So there's no risk involved for students. And a lot of people were kind of encouraging me, oh, you should probably, do a $5 sign up fee or something. And I said, well, no, I started this to help students, and at the moment the business model is probably slightly one sided towards value, being more beneficial to businesses. But I am looking, always to create more resources for students, and do anything I can kind of to help students, in any way possible.
And as you said, any barriers you put up, and it sounds like it's only $5, but that's a barrier straight away, for
Yeah,
anybody. And students are like, oh, $5, I could use it for X, Y, Z. And it's just human psyche, right? Human
yeah,
psyche. Every
exactly.
time there's a charge, you go, oh, even though, yeah. So that's really, really awesome, really beautiful that you said that. So I guess anyone that's a student listening to this, whichever part of the country you're in, get a hold of Lewis. And again, there's no guarantees in life, but you got to put your hat in the ring for things to
Exactly, yeah.
happen. Yeah, yeah, nothing to lose and everything to gain, which is really beautiful. Lewis, and as you sit here today, and you think about yourself, where you've come from, what would you say to your year 13 self when you think about the growth that you've had? And there is the context I want to put that is, I work with lots of year 13 students that have these visions, or they either have supervisions or they're like, oh, I'm so lost that that's going to be pretty scary. But having just recently completed the journey, what would you say to someone in year 13 or yourself at year 13?
Yeah, it's probably a very common one, but just don't be afraid of any opportunities. Take initiative. Some people, if people are laughing at you, they're probably not the people you want to be around. But yeah, just put yourself out there and take any chance you get, because the smallest decisions can change your whole life. And if you miss out on an opportunity, you might never get it again. So yeah.
I love that. I love that. And I'm gonna put that into context of my initial monologue. Um, what in your world has been easy to do and easy not to do as you've not just in creating the business, but also for Lewis?
Yeah, I think I saw the same LinkedIn post today or
Yeah,
yesterday, that easy to do
yeah,
and easy not to do. Yeah, and I
yeah,
thought I read the whole thing. I thought, great, and I don't often read full LinkedIn
yeah.
posts, so yeah. I think it's easy not to take initiative and reach out to people and email the people that you may not think will be helpful as such. It's, yeah, and it's easy just to message the people that might need your service as such. So for me, an example would be I have a lot of contacts or people I've made contact with who I know hire graduates or interns within the database I have a plethora of students who they may need. Um, but there's also a lot of people I've reached out to who initially I didn't reach out to because I thought, oh, I don't have students in this exact area. And it's turned out that they have a connection or they actually do hire people in a different industry. And it's kind of turned into just reaching out to people I feel are kind of more safer bets to reaching out to anyone possible and just asking for help. Yeah.
Yeah. So easy to do, stick to your guns. Easy not to do to talk to people that you have no idea, which is
Yeah.
yeah, which is really, really cool and well done you. Lewis, we've been chatting for almost 45 minutes now. Time
Oh,
flies
wow.
when you have a great conversation. And I guess are there any other parts of your world that you'd like to talk about that I haven't touched on? As I said, I've just connected with you on LinkedIn and I've seen some really cool things. But any things that, any other parts of your world that you go, actually, this is actually pretty cool, or a story that you'd like to hear about?
Um, I can't think of anything in particular, but I think a big thing that's kind of turned me to who I am today would be because my dad was a photographer. I was extremely fortunate when I was young to get to travel to a lot of different places across the world. And it would never be, it was never five-star hotels or anything. It was always, we'll travel somewhere, and it will be the basic option, but the people you meet will be amazing. The experiences you'll gain will be amazing. And I got to go to places like South America and I've been to Africa a few times. And I think it really grew me as a person meeting the locals, which is something my parents really put emphasis on is, you are extremely lucky to be here, but just because you're here doesn't mean you should take it for granted and not, you know, reach out to those and connect with people. So I spent a lot of my time away traveling, talking and immersing myself within people who had a lot less than me, but were probably a lot happier than I was. And it kind of helped shape my perspective on life in terms of you don't need to have everything to be happy. You need to look at the people you surround yourself and making the best out of the opportunities you're given. I think that kind of has built into me a lot in terms of, my dad always said, treat people the way you want to be treated. So no matter who I'm talking to, I always try to be respectful. I always try to take an actual interest in what they do. And I think that helps me a lot in terms of business because I'm always interested when people are talking to me about something in the business world. And I'm also trying to be honest. If I don't know something, I'm going to let them know I don't know something. So yeah, I think that's probably a part of me that kind of shaped who I am today.
I mean, that's beautiful, and a big mahir to your parents for instilling that in you. As you said, you had the privilege of traveling, but some people travel and they just go, okay, cool, this is great, it's a holiday. But the fact that you met with people from those different countries, and as you said before, I grew up in Africa, and I've also managed to travel quite a bit, and I've seen people that have less than me, but still smile every single day, and I'm like, you shouldn't. If I put you into a Kiwi context, you wouldn't be smiling. But in your context, you're like, hey, I'm smiling. I've got what I need today. And it's just very humbling. So it's really beautiful. And as you said before, not just in business, but also in life, just those relationships. They just bring you down. They just, when you think about things that you're like, oh, the whole first world problem thing, like, actually, wait a minute. I'm just going to pause here for a second and think about, is this really that important or not that important? So
Yeah,
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 awesome.
definitely. I think it's helped me a lot with business as well because I'll have days where I work really hard and nothing comes of anything I do, and I'm just thinking, oh, I'm so unlucky. Oh, this is BS. I should be doing better. And then it's like I'm in such an amazing position to be able to do this. There's hundreds of millions of people around the world who would never ever be able to do something like this. So kind of count your blessings at the same time that you're in a position
Yeah.
where you're able to do this.
Yeah, totally. But again, acknowledge the fact that, hey, it's okay for you to feel shitty sometimes and go,
Yeah, well,
because
yeah,
you just gotta,
you
that's
got to
just
do that
really,
as well.
you gotta do exactly otherwise. You're like, oh, everyone's, happy all the time now. There's something wrong with you. Yep. So,
Only human.
you're only human, exactly. So it's okay for you to feel like, God damn it. Because that's life, right?
Yeah,
Beautiful. I like that there because, we always just see one side to a person, but the fact that you spoke about, your upbringing at some point has really affected and changed you as a person because, we always see a silo version of any human being, but there's so many layers to everyone. And we obviously can't uncover all those layers there. But I love the fact that you said, hey, that travel aspect has really changed you and grown you as an adult. And I'm sure as you grow into yourself and as you do more travel, it also changed the way you look at the world. And maybe student hand will become a global thing, which will be pretty cool.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, yeah, fingers crossed. Lewis, our podcast is called Baskets of Knowledge, and every episode we invite our guests to share a piece of knowledge to put into our kete or a basket. You've shared some really beautiful learnings today, but is there any one piece of advice you'd like to share for us to put into our kete for myself, for Tane, and for our listeners as well?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm trying to think on the spot now. Um, be bold, you know, take risks, be bold. Life's pretty short in the span of things. So if you don't get out there and give what you're passionate about a go, you're never going to live life to the fullest. So yeah, just be bold and take risks.
I like that because that's so true. A lot of time, many of us, including adults, we are afraid to take the risk. We're afraid to be bold. We're afraid of judgment. We're afraid of all those other things. That's the biggest fear, right? The biggest fear of being bold is not about failure, but it's about how other people think if you fail. So it's really
Yeah,
awesome that's a really good piece of advice and a good piece of knowledge there. I mean, that's what you're living. You are living that. You're being bold. You are, as you said before, this is not making you tons of money at the moment, but hey, you're passionate about it, and it's awesome to take those risks there. And yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Lewis, for that. There anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up?
I don't think so. I think probably something that I could add on
Yeah, sure.
to not necessarily advice, but something that I've kind of grown with since I started the business is perspectives. And when I have a problem, taking a step back and asking for opinions and going, okay, from a 360 point of view, what are all the different perspectives I could have on this situation? And it's probably something all of my football coaches growing up will be like, who is this guy talking about? Because I was always, no, I'm right. I'm right. I know what I'm doing. But I think in a business sense, it's probably actually one of the things that's grown me the most is being able to take a step back, ask for help, look at different opinions, not shut anything down straight away, and explore every option you have. And I think it's just helped me a lot in terms of my problem solving with any circumstance I come up with. But yeah, that's probably something I wanted to add.
That's really good. Perspective is hard to do, but when you have perspective, like you give yourself the space to step back and look at things from different angles. But and you said ask other people.
Yeah,
You know, you know, I've always had this question in my mind is when I see something, am I seeing the same thing that someone else is seeing? Like I'm just seeing a red apple, but is someone else seeing a different color? Is my red actually red? I've always
yeah,
pondered that question. I was like, am I actually seeing the world in my world? What is someone else seeing? And as you said, if you ask someone a question and they see the exact same thing, they'll see a whole different perspective.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
exactly. And people like to help. If,
yes,
if
people
you
like that.
people like to share their knowledge and show you if they're experts on a problem that you're asking about, I think you'll very rarely get a no from people if you find the right niche that they're into and they'll shed some light on situations that you might not know anything about. So yeah,
That is so true. Yeah, people like to help. And yeah, and the worst they can say is no,
exactly.
and then you just go to the next person. Yeah, that's cool. Beautiful. Lewis, I have really appreciated your time. I appreciate you as a human being. I mean, you're doing some real awesome mahi there, with the work that you're doing. And I say that because I know students really struggle, and a lot of people out there take advantage of the struggle and, in different ways of young people, and not just in New Zealand, but across the world. So it's really awesome to see that your passion comes from the fact that you are a young person that has seen your peers, struggling to do things, but there's light in the tunnel because there's opportunities there, and it's awesome that you're leveraging those networks there as you go forward. So thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for sharing the mahi. For anyone that wants to get hold of you, what's the best way for them to, so business and student, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Thestudenthand.com is my website and it's got all my details on it. But also, I mean, don't be afraid to add me on LinkedIn. Else we'll pretty much accept anyone these days, any opportunity you can get. But yeah, and also if you're a student, don't be afraid to message and ask any questions you have about the service. And yeah, if you're a business looking for a graduate or intern, thestudenthan.com, or find me on LinkedIn.
Beautiful. So check those websites out, studenthand.com and LinkedIn, because Lewis is going to connect, but also Lewis shares some amazing stuff on Tuesdays. 200 Tuesdays are really awesome. Thank you, Lewis. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for this great conversation. Like I said, the time just flew. It's almost an hour. Really beautiful. So listeners out there, hopefully you found this episode interesting, fascinating. I learned quite a bit about Lewis as a person, but also about business and business creation. And hopefully, as you're sitting there with a young person or an adult or a business, that you're going to pick up some things in this podcast that you're going to go and implement in your life or get in touch with Lewis. Till next time, don't forget two important things: keep smiling, keep happy, and don't forget to put something into your basket of knowledge. Till next time, bye everybody. Talk to you there. Peace. Thanks, Lewis.
Thank you for listening to Baskets of Knowledge.
Yeah, we hope that you found something useful to put into your basket of knowledge. And as we said before, remember to put something little into your baskets of knowledge every week. And as always, feel free to like, comment, and share this podcast. Thanks, everybody. Bye.